In the 80s and 90s, Japan started a silent war, not with weapons, but with engines. These 7 machines redefined what muscle car really means.
They called them imports, lightweight toys that could never match Detroit's power. But Japan had other plans. Because in the shadows of Mount Fuji, something was brewing, engines so fierce they made V8s tremble, and names that would echo across drag strips for decades. What happens when precision meets pure aggression? When engineers chase perfection instead of noise, you get machines that don't just race, they rewrite the rules of muscle itself. Tonight, we're not talking about Mustangs or Chargers. We're crossing the Pacific into the world of Japanese muscle. The cars that proved speed doesn't need 8 cylinders, and legends don't need Detroit roots. These are the top 7 fastest Japanese muscle cars ever made. But be warned, by the time we reach number 1, your definition of muscle car might never be the same again. Car number 7. Nissan Skyline GT-R R34, 2002, the Godzilla legend. They called it Godzilla, a name that didn't come from Japan, but from the country it came to conquer, Australia. Because when the R34 Skyline GT-R arrived, it didn't just win races, it destroyed expectations. By the late 1990s, Japan had already built fast cars, but the R34 was something different, something alive. While American muscle cars were still flexing raw horsepower and cubic inches, Nissan's engineers were crafting a different kind of monster, one that could think as fast as it could move. Under its sculpted hood sat the legendary RB26 DIT, a twin-turbocharged inline-6 officially rated at 276 horsepower, though everyone knew that number was part of Japan's gentleman's agreement. In truth, the R34 easily produced over 320 horsepower in stock form, and tuners would soon discover it could go far beyond that. 600, 700, even 1,000 horsepower, all from an iron block that refused to die. But brute strength wasn't what made the R34 terrifying. It was the intelligence lurking underneath. Nissan fitted it with the Atessa ETS Pro all-wheel drive system, a brain that constantly shifted torque between the front and rear wheels in milliseconds, reading traction and driver input with uncanny precision. Pair that with the Super Hiker's rear-wheel steering and active yaw sensors, and you had a car that didn't just grip the road, it anticipated it. To drive the R34 hard was to feel like you were part of a machine that understood you, one heartbeat at a time. It was balance, beauty, and brutality fused into one perfect rhythm. This was Japan's answer to decades of American dominance. No V8s, no chrome, no nostalgia, just pure, surgical performance. The Skyline GT-R R34 wasn't trying to be loud, it was trying to be legendary. It didn't need to rumble through downtown, it only needed to whisper through a turbo spool to make the world pay attention. And when Fast and Furious brought the R34 to the silver screen, driven by Paul Walker, its myth reached global superstardom. Every young car enthusiast suddenly dreamed of owning one. But for many, that dream stayed out of reach, locked away by US import bans that turned the R34 into forbidden fruit. It was the car you wanted but could never have. 2 decades later, that legend still lives. The R34 has become more than metal and rubber. It's a symbol of Japan's defiance, a reminder that true muscle doesn't have to come from Detroit. It can come from precision, technology, and the relentless pursuit of perfection. It can come from a turbocharged inline-6 that sings through tunnels and leaves tire marks on history. Number 7 on our list isn't just another fast car, it's a declaration, a machine that redefined performance, rewrote the rules, and earned a name that still shakes the car world, the Nissan Skyline GT-R, Godzilla itself. Number 6. Toyota Supra MK4, 1998, the Turbo Titan. When you say the word Supra, everything else goes silent. Not the modern imitation, but the real deal, the 1998 Toyota Supra MK4, the car that turned Japan's engineering pride into a global obsession. Built in an era when passion ruled the factory floor, the Supra didn't just chase performance, it redefined it. It wasn't about luxury or comfort, it was about control, balance, and the kind of raw power that made your pulse race before the engine even started. Under that long, sculpted hood lived a legend, the 2JZ GTE, a 3-liter inline-6 twin-turbocharged masterpiece that changed everything. Officially, it produced 276 horsepower, the limit set by Japan's gentleman's agreement. But in truth, the 2JZ was a sleeping giant. Built with bulletproof internals and an over-engineered block, it could handle 800 to 1,000 horsepower with ease. This wasn't just an engine, it was the heart of a generation. The Supra's sequential twin-turbo system was its secret weapon. One turbo for instant low-end torque, the other for high-end fury. The result was seamless acceleration that hurled the car from 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds and toward a top speed near 180 miles per hour. Yet beyond the numbers, it was the feeling that made the Supra special. The steering was precise, the balance perfect, and every shift felt like an extension of your own heartbeat. But it wasn't just the streets or tracks that made the Supra famous. It was the screen. The Fast and the Furious transformed this Japanese masterpiece into a cultural icon. That bright orange Supra didn't just race Vin Diesel, it raced into history. Suddenly, everyone wanted one. Posters, video games, and dreams all carried the same car. Behind the fame, though, was pure engineering brilliance. The MK4's chassis was strong enough to handle wild power builds, its suspension finely tuned for both balance and brutality. Tuners around the world treated it like a blank canvas, a car that could evolve into anything you imagined. More than 20 years later, the Supra MK4 stands as the symbol of everything that made Japanese performance cars legendary: fearless design, precision craftsmanship, and the courage to challenge the world. That's why it earns its place as the Turbo Titan, the car that didn't just define speed, it defined an era. Number 5. Lexus LFA 2012, Japan's V10 Symphony. Some cars make noise, but the Lexus LFA made music, the kind that sends chills down your spine and turns heads even in Maranello. Born not out of marketing strategy but pure obsession, the LFA was never built to sell, it was built to prove a point. That Japan could craft a supercar so emotional, so precise, that it could stand toe-to-toe with Italy's best. For Lexus, a brand known for silence and refinement, this was madness. The LFA was 10 years in the making, a decade of heartbreak, perfectionism, and relentless engineering. Behind its carbon fiber shell lived a masterpiece, a 4.8-liter naturally aspirated V10, co-developed with Yamaha, the same company that tunes concert grand pianos. That influence was no coincidence. The engine revved to 9,000 RPM, so quickly that Lexus had to design a digital tachometer because no analog needle could keep up. When it fired up, it didn't growl, it sang. Each rev was a note in a mechanical symphony. The tone, sharp, haunting, and pure, was described by sound engineers as one of the most beautiful noises ever produced by an internal combustion engine. It was Japan's soul, screaming through titanium exhaust pipes. But the LFA wasn't just about sound, it was about sensation. Every piece of it was over-engineered. Its chassis was built almost entirely from carbon fiber reinforced plastic, so complex that Toyota had to invent new weaving machines to shape it. It produced 552 horsepower, weighed just 3,200 pounds, and could hit 202 miles per hour, but none of that was the point. This car wasn't chasing lap times, it was chasing perfection. Every shift through its 6-speed automated manual felt sharp and deliberate. The steering was telepathic. It didn't want to impress you, it wanted to connect with you. Driving the LFA wasn't about control, it was about emotion. It cost $375,000, and Lexus lost money on every single one. Only 500 units were ever made. But for Japan, profit wasn't the goal, pride was. The LFA was proof that passion didn't belong only to Europe. Even today, more than a decade later, nothing sounds like it. Enthusiasts still call it the greatest sounding car ever built. Number 5 on our list isn't the loudest or the fastest, it's the purest. The 2012 Lexus LFA, Japan's V10 Symphony, a car that didn't just move people, it moved their souls. Number 4. Nissan GT-R R35 Nismo 2020, the modern samurai. If the Skyline GT-R R34 was Japan's Godzilla, then the R35 GT-R NESMO is the evolved creature, leaner, meaner, and smarter than ever. It's not just a car, it's a weapon. When it arrived, it didn't whisper its presence, it detonated. The world thought Japan's golden era of muscle had ended in the 1990s, but Nissan had been sharpening its blade in silence. In 2007, that silence broke, and the R35 GT-R stormed the scene with technology that looked like it came from another planet. By the time the 2020 Nismo edition rolled in, it had evolved into something even more fearsome, a hand-built, precision-engineered machine that blurred the line between road and racetrack. Under its vented hood beats the heart of a twin-turbocharged 3.8-liter V6, hand-assembled by Nissan's master craftsman, known as Takumi. Each engine carries the signature of the man who built it, etched into a small aluminum plaque, a reminder that every GT-R Nismo is born, not manufactured. It produces 600 horsepower and launches from 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds, pinning you to the seat with the kind of force that makes your heartbeat sync with the turbos. But what makes the GT-R Nismo so special isn't just the power, it's the control. The car's all-wheel drive system, evolved from decades of racing heritage, constantly monitors grip, weight and throttle input, sending torque to each wheel with surgical precision. It doesn't just drive fast, it calculates fast. Every inch of the 2020 Nismo screams performance. Lightweight carbon fiber panels replace steel, aerodynamic fins slice through the air, and massive ceramic brakes ensure that when you tell this beast to stop, it listens instantly. Even the tires are bespoke, designed with race-spec compounds to grip harder under brutal acceleration. The result? A car that can lap the Nürburgring faster than most exotic supercars, costing twice as much. And yet, it's still a Nissan. Still that badge from the same company that builds family sedans. That's what makes it poetic. The GT-R Nismo isn't born of privilege, it's born of purpose. Inside, it's all function over flash. Alcantara wraps the steering wheel, the seats hug tighter than a race harness, and the red Nismo stitching reminds you that this machine has nothing to prove, it already has. On the open road, the GT-R feels alive. Every gear shift an explosion, every turn a test of nerve. It doesn't just reward skilled drivers, it demands them. And that's exactly what Nissan wanted. The R35 Nismo is not a car for everyone. It's a car for the few who understand the art of mechanical precision, the kind of people who find beauty in data logs and lap times. When the world moved toward automation, soft steering and quiet cabins, Nissan doubled down on raw connection. The GT-R Nismo stood as Japan's modern-day samurai, disciplined, deadly, and elegant. It's not nostalgia, it's evolution. 2 decades after the R34 reigned supreme, this was its descendant. Sharper, stronger, still undefeated in spirit. Number 4 on our list isn't a memory of the past, it's the proof that Japanese muscle didn't die. It adapted. This is the Nissan GT-R R35 Nismo, the modern samurai that carries the legacy of Godzilla into the new millennium. Number 3. Mazda RX-7 Spirit R, the rotary rebel. Every legend deserves a grand finale, and for Mazda's RX-7, that was the Spirit R. Released in 2002, it wasn't just a farewell, it was a rebellion on wheels. At a time when cars were getting bigger, heavier, and buried under electronics, Mazda doubled down on purity. The Spirit R was their love letter to driving, light, focused, and ferociously alive. At its heart was the engine that defied logic, a 1.3-liter twin-rotor Wankel, small enough to fit in your lap, yet powerful enough to make your pulse race. Officially rated at 276 horsepower, but what made it special wasn't the number, it was the experience. When the twin turbos spooled up, the engine screamed past 9,000 RPM, delivering a surge that felt more like flight than motion. No vibration, no hesitation, just a turbine-like wail that turned fuel and air into pure emotion. Mazda engineers knew this was their last dance with the rotary, so they gave it everything. The 50-50 weight distribution, razor-sharp steering, and lightweight chassis made the RX-7 move like a living thing. It didn't fight corners, it flowed through them. The Spirit R wasn't about brute force, it was about grace under pressure, rewarding skill over showmanship. It became the ultimate expression of what driving could feel like when passion outweighed profit. Even its name carried purpose. Spirit R stood for rotary spirit. Mazda knew the rotary was imperfect, thirsty, delicate, unconventional. But that's exactly why it mattered. In a world obsessed with numbers, the RX-7 chased feeling. It wasn't the fastest or the most reliable, but it was the most soulful. Only 1,500 units were ever built, each one crafted with reverence. Red Recaro bucket seats, BBS lightweight wheels, and a minimalist interior spoke of function over flash. Start it up, and the rotary didn't growl, it whirred, like a jet engine spooling to life. Every revel felt alive. Every shift a heartbeat. Weighing just over 1,050 kilograms, the Spirit R could sprint from 0 to 60 in around 5 seconds. But the real joy wasn't in the straight line. It was in the corners, where the RX-7 felt telepathic, almost supernatural. It was a car that rewarded respect, and punished arrogance, a teacher for those who truly wanted to drive. When it bowed out, the world lost more than a car. It lost a philosophy. The RX-7 Spirit R was the last true rotary sports car, a symbol of Mazda's fearless creativity. Decades later, its name still stirs emotion among enthusiasts, because the Mazda RX-7 Spirit R wasn't built to dominate, it was built to inspire. The final stand of the rotary dream, the rotary rebel. Number 2, Toyota Supra MK4, 1998, the icon reborn. Some cars are fast, some become famous. But the 1998 Toyota Supra MK4 became something far greater, a legend. When Toyota unveiled it, the world didn't just see another sports car, they witnessed Japan's declaration of war against the giants of Europe and America. This wasn't a car built for comfort or luxury, it was born for dominance. Beneath its long, sculpted hood lived one of the most indestructible engines ever made, the 3.0-liter twin-turbocharged 2JZ GT-E. On paper, it made 276 horsepower, thanks to Japan's gentleman's agreement. In reality, it was a sleeping monster. With a few tweaks, tuners pushed it past 1,000 horsepower without breaking a sweat. It was the kind of engine that laughed at limits, an engineering masterpiece that turned the Supra into a blank canvas for speed. But what truly made the MK4 special wasn't just power, it was precision. The sequential twin-turbo system delivered seamless acceleration, one turbo for low-end torque, the other for high-end fury. There were no gaps, no hesitation, just a relentless surge that pinned you to the seat and refused to let go. 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds, top speed north of 180 miles per hour, and yet it felt calm, balanced, even elegant in the hands of a skilled driver. Its design was just as purposeful. The wide stance, fluid curves, and iconic rear wing made it instantly recognizable. Inside, the driver-focused cockpit wrapped around you like a fighter jet, every dial and gauge angled toward command. It wasn't just a car you drove, it was a car that demanded you to drive better. Then came Hollywood. The Supra's silver screen appearance turned it into a global obsession. That orange beast from Fast and Furious didn't just race cars, it raced into history. Today, the MK4 Supra is no longer just a machine. It's a relic of a time when passion ruled design and performance had no filter. A true icon reborn, engineered to thrill, remembered forever. Number 1. Nissan GT-R R35 2009, the Godzilla of Japan. Every generation has its monster, and in 2009, Japan unleashed a beast so advanced, it shattered everything we thought we knew about performance. Its name? The Nissan GT-R R35. The world called it Godzilla, not out of affection, but out of awe and fear. The GT-R didn't come from Italy or Germany. It came from a brand known for family cars. Yet it left Ferraris and Lamborghinis trembling. Under the hood lived a 3.8-liter twin-turbocharged V6, known as the VR38DET, hand-built by elite master craftsmen called Takumi. Each engine bore the name of its builder, a mark of honor. With 480 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque, it could blast from 0 to 60 in under 3.5 seconds, hitting speeds that embarrassed million-dollar exotics. But the GT-R's real weapon wasn't brute force, it was intelligence. Its all-wheel drive system constantly read road conditions, throttle input, and steering angle, adjusting power in milliseconds. It didn't react, it anticipated. Combine that with a lightning-fast dual-clutch transmission, and the GT-R didn't drive the road, it dominated it. On track, it was unstoppable. At the Nürburgring, it clocked lap times, once reserved for the world's most expensive supercars, at a fraction of the cost. The world had no choice but to respect it. Its design was aggressive, not delicate. Every vent, curve, and edge built for function, not vanity. Inside, the driver sat in command of a digital symphony. The central display, co-developed with Gran Turismo's creators, tracked every heartbeat of the car from boost pressure to G-forces. The GT-R R35 wasn't about nostalgia, it was about evolution. A machine born from Japanese precision, built to defy limits. Even as later versions roared past 600 horsepower, one truth remained. When you launched it, you didn't just accelerate, you unleashed. The 2009 Nissan GT-R R35 wasn't just Japan's fastest muscle car, it was a revolution on wheels. A monster that didn't just earn its name, it became it. The Godzilla of Japan. Because these cars weren't just fast, they were freedom. Rolling proof that machines can have a heartbeat, and that legends never truly die. If you felt the roar, the nostalgia, or the spirit of Japanese speed, then you're one of us. Hit subscribe, join the Regal Rides family, and keep the engines of history alive.